Well, hello! Now let's get you caught up. Earth went boom, we live on Mars, the president was assassinated, there was a civil war, then a traitor in the government, and now we're staring down the barrel of a railgun. So, maybe War 2 Electric Boogaloo? March 26th, 2260. Philip Hall has narrowly won the election with 46% of the vote, meaning this is his fourth presidential term, tying him with former President Charlie Gent for most presidential terms won. May 3rd, 2260. The UMRS Hawking was surveying the asteroid PX-11, and they discovered it covered in craters made by weapon blasts roughly 2 millennia ago. Residual energy readings suggest that they tested increasingly exotic weaponry, including some form of subspace weapons. Samples have been collected, and our scientists are eager to research these findings in more detail. June 9th, 2260. A tech company on Mars has contacted the Science Directorate and requested a large amount of government funding to be allocated to the construction of a new state-of-the-art research lab called Axiom. The company has recently employed many of the most renowned scientists from Mars and New Berlin. In return for government funding, Axiom Labs would act as a think tank for the government when called upon. June 22nd, 2260. The 1st Peacekeeping Division is still on the border, with orders to only act in self-defense. President Philip Hall has decided to recall the fleet to the Picus Starbase, but Congress has requested that he hold off on giving that order for a few days while they discuss alternative solutions to capture the traitor Theodore Wheeler. July 2nd, 2260. The 1st Peacekeeping Division detects a large energy buildup in one of the ONED vessels and frantic communications between the vessels in their fleet. The ONED vessel suffers an explosion and it drifts over the border. The UMRS Nottingham, a Spitfire-class destroyer, is sent to render assistance to the vessel. The Nottingham arrives and lowers its shields to send medical teams via shuttles. An engineering team is also sent to assist in the ejection of their reactor core to avoid a complete overload. The engineering team discovers that the ONED have no form of ejection system for their reactor core and is starting to overheat. The manual override of the reactor is also not responding. So the Nottingham powers down all weapons and commences the evacuation of the vessel. Another ONED vessel suddenly launches a torpedo, and our fleet is out of range to intercept. The Nottingham is also experiencing communication problems due to severe interference from the damaged ONED vessel, so they did not receive the warning. The torpedo hits the ONED vessel and detonates the reactor core. The UMRS Nottingham was completely destroyed as its shields were offline. Admiral Slaughter opens emergency communications with President Philip Hall and requests permission to retaliate, but permission is denied. The fleet is instead ordered to fire a volley of torpedoes at the border and detonate them just before crossing. At the same time, a message is sent to the ONED government and their revered elder, demanding that they openly apologize and pay reparations, or immediately pull their fleet away from the border. The ONED revered leader Korb refused to apologize and said his fleets will go wherever and do whatever he wants. July 5th, 2260. The Martian Congress called an emergency session. The only topic up for discussion is how to respond to the divine ONED Quark Commonality's aggression and refusal to extradite the traitor and terrorist Theodore Wheeler. At the start of discussions, the solutions were quite restrained, but the more that is shared and discussed, some members start contemplating a formal declaration of war. After the longest congressional meeting in history, Congress takes a vote on whether or not to declare war. The vote is 87 to 25 in favor of war. The United Martian Republic, for the first time in its history, has declared war. The 1st Peacekeeping Division is ordered to engage the ONED fleet only 20 minutes after the formal declaration is sent. The 1st Peacekeeping Division rushed across the border and engaged the ONED fleet. Both sides were ready for this attack, and as a result, both sides suffered extreme levels of casualties. The ONED fleet decided to retreat. We know that 33 of their vessels were completely destroyed, and the rest extremely damaged. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has completely lost 25 of its 30 vessels. All that remains is 1 severely damaged Spitfire class, and 4 moderately damaged Tomcat class vessels. Data recovered from the battle shows that the ONED fleet uses weapons designed to damage shields. Unfortunately, our ships rely on shields as their main form of defense. The Security Council has ordered all ship designs to be updated accordingly. The 1st Peacekeeping Division, or what's left of it, has been ordered back to the Picus Starbase for repairs. July 14th, 2260. President Philip Hall has signed an executive order authorizing the use of the Strategic National Reserves. Deals have also been made with friendly governments to sell excess resources in exchange for rare metals and alloys that can be used for shipbuilding. The Security Council has planned for the 1st Peacekeeping Division to have 20 Meteor, 20 Tomcat, and 10 Spitfire-class vessels. We currently have only appropriated enough funds and resources for 27 of the new vessels, out of the planned 45. August 11th, 2260. The Science Directorate has been trying to improve our hyperdrives for the past 40 years, but have been completely stumped. So the head of the Science Directorate, Jonathan Brown, has decided to use this as a test of the newly completed Axiom Labs. September 2nd, 2260. Although the galactic community was formed officially a few months ago, Congress has never ratified the treaty joining the community until now. The President will act as our representation, including voting on galactic issues. President Philip Hall has proposed a resolution in what is being called the Galactic Senate. This resolution would form the basics of a standardized galactic market. November 1st, 2260. The Security Council has approved designs for the Corsair-class cruiser, named after the famous Earth aircraft, the Vought F4U Corsair. No ships of the class have been ordered yet, but it's planned for the 1st Peacekeeping Division to have 2 ships of the class. The Corsair class was designed in the early 2260s as a response to the Martian Navy's need for a powerful frontline ship. At a length of 300 meters and a width of 150 meters, it has a crew complement of 200 spread across 25 decks. The class is armed with 3 new and experimental UV lasers, 2 photonic torpedo launchers, 2 mass drivers, and 2 Sentinel point defense grids. The class has quad Type 2 shield generators and heavy plasteel armor. It's also equipped with a fusion reactor, new gravimetric sensors, ion thrusters, a brand new experimental fire control system. Multiple auxiliary fire control systems are also installed in the event that the primary fails. Finally, experimental force fields that can be used to seal hull breaches or hold prisoners if required. December 14th, 2260. Mars's main mining companies are reporting difficulties meeting their production targets. The reason is because the planet's main ore deposits have been depleted, and we are having problems finding more ore veins. January 1st, 2261. The Galactic Senate has convened, and it appears our proposal for a galactic market will pass with a unanimous vote. March 21st, 2261. The Security Council has come to the conclusion that training in the Navy is not as good as we thought. During our battle with the ONED fleet, it was discovered that 33% of the crew failed to complete even basic tasks in combat conditions, even if it would have saved lives. So the Naval Academy has been formed. Crews will be trained for years, and officers will undergo additional specialized training. However, many volunteers will fail to meet our new much higher standards, reducing the amount of acceptable crews. Not to mention, the training will delay new ships being ready for frontline deployment drastically. But the Security Council believes the benefits outweigh the negatives. April 8th, 2261. Axiom Labs, in only 8 months, has proposed a new hyperdrive design, which has a much shorter cooldown time, and can travel faster while in hyperspace. These new developments came after Axiom Labs discovered the existence of breach points, which are places where it is drastically easier to access hyperspace, resulting in a ship using a fraction of the power it would normally have to expend in order to enter hyperspace. September 17th, 2261. The 2 Corsair-class cruisers scheduled for construction have been pushed to the front of the line, and assembly will begin shortly. Once completed, the vessels will be named the UMRS Phobos and Deimos, named after Mars' 2 moons. December 21st, 2261. The Security Council has an operative on the Rochelle starbase, and this operative was able to sabotage its weapon systems, But this sabotage will only be apparent when the 1st Peacekeeping Division attacks, because the weapons themselves have not been touched, but their fire control systems have been spoofed, so when targeting our ships, they will actually be targeting a completely different area. Once the battle starts, their fire control systems will eventually be fixed, so it will not be an easy capture, but it should give us the time needed to destroy their shields. January 4th, 2262. Currently, the Security Council maintains 72 spies across many different governments and companies outside the Martian Republic, but it is quite a disorganized mess, as the Security Council has never been designed to be a spy agency. So President Philip Hall proposed the creation of the GIA, or Galactic Intelligence Agency, to Congress, and after some debate, the GIA was made into a federal agency under the Security Council. The President has selected Commander Phobos to be the first ever director of the GIA. Currently, the GIA's first priority is the capture of Theodore Wheeler. March 7th, 2262. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has engaged the Rochelle Starbase, and as expected, the station was unable to hit us, and we were able to destroy their shields before they could fix their fire control systems. We have captured the Starbase, although we did still take a large amount of damage, but luckily no ships were lost. November 27th, 2262. Mars has been fully terraformed, and new construction projects are already underway to take advantage of the new usable space. The terraforming of Glaus 4 is also on schedule, and it is expected to be completed in the coming years. July 1st, 2263. The Galactic Senate is once again in session, and the Bensign Regency of Shiraka has proposed a space race be held among the members of the community. President Philip Hall has supported this idea, and it appears this resolution will pass. September 26th, 2263.
The GIA believes they have found Theodore Wheeler. He is on the ONED homeworld and is in a heavily guarded compound. A frontal assault would definitely be a suicide mission, so other options are currently being investigated.
December 30th, 2263. Our spies have lost track of the ONED fleet. Our best guess is they are going to try and recapture the Rochelle Starbase. The 1st Peacekeeping Division is currently undergoing upgrades in the Picus system, and will be unable to leave until they are completed. April 4th, 2264. The liberated commune of Boaz Sinaid has requested any information we might have about the pirates in the Windseth system. The Security Council has transferred all related intel to their security services. The liberated commune has also requested we take part in a policing action to arrest these criminals. Unfortunately, our only fleet is occupied with the ONED war, but we have offered support in terms of necessary supplies and our assistance with the detaining and holding of prisoners that are captured. July 30th, 2264.
Every few days, members of the ONED government visit the compound protecting Theodore Wheeler, presumably to gain more classified intel. We believe that our operatives in the government might be able to tag along on one of these trips and, while inside, sabotage the compound shield generator, allowing the strike team to enter.
September 29th, 2264. A company has requested permission to facilitate the settling of Ryama 3A, which is a desert planet. While humans could live on this planet, it would cost a large amount of resources to make it comfortable, but the Shantari are much more accustomed to the extreme heat, and many of them are thrilled to embark on this journey. President Philip Hall approves the request, and funds are shifted from future terraforming projects to assist the new colony. The UMRS France will be commissioned as the second ever Australia-class colony ship. December 5th, 2264. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has been ordered to capture the Satira Starbase, and other ONED outposts in that cluster of systems. Long-range sensors still have not detected the ONED fleet, so we still have no idea where they could be. April 22nd, 2265. The 1st Peacekeeping Division was able to capture the Satira Starbase. A large number of casualties were sustained, but our new training seems to have paid off drastically, and the fleet was able to effectively coordinate the attack. September 18th, 2265. The Oned fleet has been detected en route to the Rochelle starbase. Although the fleet is half the size of the 1st Peacekeeping Division, we are not sure whether or not we are fast enough to help the Rochelle starbase before it is captured. January 3rd, 2266. The Oned colony of Nuov Kir in the Sotira system has been causing problems for the captured starbase, so the Planetary Guard has been ordered to occupy the colony. Veterans of the New Merlin Crisis have been called on specifically, since we don't know if it will be a peaceful occupation or not. Nunza, a veteran of the New Berlin Crisis, has been promoted to general, and will lead the Planetary Guard to Nuov Kir. Congress has decided to rewrite the rules of military conduct when in combat conditions, since there was a legal gray area that only designated non-combatants as civilians if they were in Martian space, theoretically allowing soldiers to treat anyone like a combatant. The reason the military's rules of conduct were this way was because the military was never intended to be an offensive force and leaving Martian space. The military's new rules of conduct specify that any being not acting in a combative manner is to be classified as a civilian, regardless of jurisdiction, meaning their lives are to be protected no matter the cost. March 7th, 2266.
Our operative was able to gain access to the compound and plant a small explosive device on the shield generator, but our strike team has been unable to successfully complete any simulation of the operation, so it has been delayed once again. This does cause a problem because if the bomb is discovered before we are ready, the Oned will most likely move Theodore Wheeler, and who knows how long it's going to take before we find him again.
April 2nd, 2266. Axiom Labs has approached the Science Directorate with a scientific breakthrough in biological and cybernetic research. Using specialized connectors, they have managed to implant data from brain cells into a computer chip and create new neurons by outputting new data from the chip. In theory, it should be possible to scale this system up and it work on much more sophisticated brains. December 3rd, 2266. To capture more outposts, the Security Council has decided to separate the 1st Peacekeeping Division into Task Force 1 and 2. Task Force 1 will be under the command of Captain Robixon, and Task Force 2 will be under the command of Captain Lady Jade. Both task forces will still report to Admiral Slaughter. April 21st, 2267. The Bensine Regency of Shiraka has suggested we apply for association status with the Interstellar Pact, which is a federation made up of the Bensine Regency of Shiraka, the Compact of Great Vanti, and the Libertine Kingdom of Avarian. Having association status would not make us a member of the Federation, but it would give us the opportunity in the future. We would participate in military training operations and scientific information sharing. This decision falls to the President, and he has decided to apply. If in the future we wanted to become a full member of the Interstellar Pact, Congress would have to ratify a treaty to join, just like the treaty that made us a member of the galactic community. May 2nd, 2267. The Planetary Guard arrived at Nuov Kir and started landing troops, expecting an organized resistance, but all they found were civilians working in factories and power plants. The planet's governor meets with General Nunza and offers surrender in return for food shipments, since the planet is unable to produce enough food on its own. The surrender has been accepted, and extra food shipments are being prepared. June 9th, 2267.
Our strike team has still been unable to complete the simulation, so Director Phobos has reached out to the Planetary Guard for assistance, and General Nunza has selected his best soldiers and will attempt the simulation. If they succeed, he and his team will take over the assault.
July 28th, 2267. Task Force 2 was in the process of capturing the Oned outpost in the Romascus system when the Oned fleet entered the system. The task force was caught off guard, and many casualties were sustained. We lost 7 vessels before Captain Lady Jade ordered our withdrawal back to the Rochelle starbase for repairs. August 24th, 2267.
Outstanding! General Nunzar and his team have successfully completed the simulation and are en route to the ONED homeworld on a cloaked ship. Once they arrive, they will assault the compound and hopefully be off the planet before the ONED military can respond.
October 21st, 2267. President Philip Hall has recalled the Martian flagship, the UMRS Hawking, back to Mars. The President has also ordered the ship to be decommissioned since the ship was the first human vessel that traveled faster than light. Unfortunately, the ship's original captain, Theodore Wheeler, was discovered to be a traitor and a terrorist. The Hawking will be returned to its original design and made into a museum, although all mentions to its original captain have been redacted. All documents pertaining to the ship have been declassified, including our first encounter with the Surveyor probe, which was never revealed to the public. This does leave the Martian Republic without a flagship, but some engineers at Axiom Labs have submitted a design and named it Enterprise, in honor of the old Earth TV series and movies based in the fictional Star Trek universe, since the flagship of the Federation Starfleet was named the USS Enterprise. The Enterprise class was designed in the late 2260s by Axiom Labs to fulfill the need for a new flagship. At a length of 250 meters and a width of 175 meters, it has a crew complement of 125 spread across 20 decks. The class is armed with 3 UV lasers, 3 mass drivers, and 3 Sentinel point defense grids. The class also has quad Type 2 shield generators and heavy plasteel armor. It is equipped with a fusion reactor, gravimetric sensors, ion thrusters, experimental fire control system, and extensive laboratories for any type of research, and experimental force fields. November 16th, 2267. The UMRS France has landed on Ryama 3A, and the colonists have named the colony Titan. The governor elected to represent them was Jamie Plays. Intriguingly, the closest translation to that name in English is Great Gamer. April 4th, 2268. The terraforming of Glaus 4 has been completed, and a new Australia-class colony ship named the UMRS Japan is already under construction. May 4th, 2268. The UMRS Sagan was traveling through the Ionides system and detected abandoned habitats in a gas giant's rings. We have never detected these habitats before because our sensors are extremely hindered in the Demon's Eye Nebula, but our new gravimetric sensors are more powerful. The abandoned habitats appear to have sustained severe levels of damage in what we assume had to be a catastrophic event in the past. However, it is not clear what kind of event. We do believe that these belong to a highly advanced civilization, like the ruins we discovered on Picus 6A. September 1st, 2268. The UMRS Enterprise has been completed. The captain will be Brooklyn Miller. Enterprise's first mission is the exploration of the newly discovered habitats in the Ionides system. October 21st, 2268.
Okay, the team has started their assault and the bomb that we planned was luckily still active and destroyed their shield generator. The resistance though is heavier than expected and the team has already taken a lot of casualties. They are continuing into the compound as we speak, so stand by. While clearing out the compound, they encountered guards around every corner, and they've yet to find Theodore Wheeler. The team only has 10 more minutes before the ONED military is expected to arrive in full force, so they better get a move on. A few minutes before their deadline, one of the officers finds a false wall in the basement. After placing breaching charges and clearing this new section, they find Theodore Wheeler hidden in a panic room. But their time is almost up, and if they do not leave before the military arrives, there is no chance that they're going to be making it off this planet. The team makes it to their shuttle, but while taking off, the shuttle was fired upon before the shields can be activated. Luckily, the shuttle was relatively fine and the shields were raised. While exiting the atmosphere on the planet, the team activates the cloak, but it does not turn on. And it is discovered that the ONED military destroyed it before the shields were activated. Without the cloaking device, the team's only chance of surviving is to somehow escape the system and meet up with the 1st Peacekeeping Division. The ONED fleet is still undetected, but we know it is not in the system. So the only thing the team has to do is evade some patrol ships. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has been ordered to travel at maximum speed to meet up with the team and to take Theodore Wheeler into custody. ONED patrol ships are in pursuit of the team and they are taking severe damage to the shuttle shields, which are starting to fail. The 1st Peacekeeping Division is still a few minutes away, so General Nunza decides to eject the reactor and detonate it. Although it's a very small reactor, it will still do significant damage to the ONED patrol ships and also to the shuttle itself. The 1st Peacekeeping Division arrives and discovers the shuttle floating in space. They quickly capture and store it in the cargo bay, and the captain then turns to his helmsman and says, "Get us out of here." The helmsman doesn't hesitate and quickly enters hyperspace. General Nunza stated that his operation, with a total of 14 team members including himself, only 6 were still alive. General Nunza made sure to bring back all 8 bodies of the fallen. Theodore Wheeler has been officially arrested and will be transported back to Mars on the UMRS Deimos, which is one of the new state-of-the-art Corsair class cruisers with an escort of 5 Tomcat class corvettes. General Nunza has done an outstanding job and will return to the Planetary Guard, which is currently stationed on New Ovker.
November 6th, 2268. We have detected the ONED's last fleet and last major shipyard beyond their capital. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has been ordered to travel deep into ONED space and engage their fleet. The main goal is the capture of their shipyard, to stop their continued ship production. The capture of Theodore Wheeler has changed the goal of the war drastically. Congress wants the war to be over, especially since we are having severe shortages of alloys and ore. February 15th, 2269. Our scientists that have been studying the alien space station in the Sierra Moore system believe they have discovered what the station's original purpose was. They think it acted as some form of transportation for entire fleets of ships. Through the galactic community, we have discovered that there are many of what we are calling gateways spread across the galaxy, theoretically allowing a fleet of ships to instantaneously travel from one side of the galaxy to the other. Unfortunately, no one has figured out how to reactivate these gateways as of yet. March 3rd, 2269. While en route to Mars, Theodore Wheeler has been questioned multiple times, and each time he brags about some of his accomplishments. The most important information he told us was about Earth and what really happened there. Although no one believed him at first, the things he said were soon verified. Apparently, Theodore Wheeler's father, Sebastian Wheeler, was a very wealthy business owner on Earth, and he thought the planet would be better off under one government. And he tried to make the United Nations into a true government, but failed after only a few months of trying. Eventually, he realized humanity would need a push away from the blocks of power that were hoarding Earth's water supplies. So he started a secret group called the One True Planet, which was responsible for hacking the United States bunker. But something went horribly wrong. The United States was only supposed to detect a limited nuclear strike from Russia and China, essentially wiping out the 3 bloc leaders, but instead the United States detected a massive nuclear launch from all hostile countries, and this led to the planet being completely destroyed. So instead of uniting the planet he loved, he destroyed it and killed most of its inhabitants. Sebastian Wheeler then used his massive amounts of wealth to buy his way off the planet, with his wife and newborn son, and made a new life on Mars with nobody ever discovering what he had done. Theodore Wheeler learned of his father's past when he was quite young, and he agreed with his father, or so he thought. What Theodore actually wanted was power, and he was willing to play the long game to avoid the mistakes his father made. So he took the name The One True Planet, and planted the ideas of unity and Martian strength in others to attract like-minded people who would do anything to help him. Earth's destruction has always been a mystery, and believed to have been caused by humanity's collective greed. But we were wrong. It was caused by one person's idealistic future, and their willingness to use destruction and suffering as a means to achieve it. April 19th, 2269. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has engaged the ONED fleet and starbase. They were victorious, but at a severe cost of 17 vessels. The 1st Peacekeeping Division has started blockading the 2 ONED planets in the system. These planets are not small colonies like New Ovkir, and we believe that they will put up quite a fight if we have to occupy them. July 2nd, 2269. The UMRS Deimos and its escorts are traveling through the Pika system en route to Mars when they detect an unidentified civilian vessel that is not responding to hails. so the fleet sounds general quarters. The Deimos and 2 of his escorts halt and maintain position, while the other 3 escorts stop and board the unidentified vessel. When general quarters are sounded, prisoners are locked inside their cells and a guard placed outside. The Deimos is also equipped with experimental force fields for sealing hull breaches and for containing prisoners. A little known fact about these force fields is that they sometimes activate when not given the order, so a hidden panel was installed in the floor so high-ranking officers could deactivate the force field from the inside should they get stuck. This information is extremely classified and only known to the captain, first officer, chief engineer, and the force field technician. Yet somehow, Theodore Wheeler used his eating utensils to open the hidden panel and used a back door that he installed in the Martian database long before he was discovered as a traitor to access high-level command functions on the Deimos. Using these functions, he deactivated all warnings and deactivated the life support systems on the entire ship except for his cell, since all cells have their own backup power and life support. With no warnings about the life support being deactivated, the crew did not realize something was wrong until it was too late. After some time, Theodore Wheeler reactivated the life support and managed to make his way to the bridge, where he discovered that the Deimos has missed 2 check-ins, and its escorts are demanding the Deimos drop shields and prepare to be boarded. And if the Deimos does not comply, it will be fired upon. Wheeler activates the weapon systems and opens fire, but the Corsair class is designed to have a crew of 200 to maintain it, especially during combat. The weapons rapidly start overheating and jamming, while the escorts are severely damaging the Deimos' shields. Realizing he can't outfight the escorts, he tries to outrun them, and starts heading for the nearest breach point. But the Deimos' shields fail, and the first target was the hyperdrive, rendering the ship unable to access hyperspace. Next was the thrusters, leaving the Deimos adrift next to the wormhole. Theodore Wheeler has nowhere left to go, and the escorts are sending boarding parties, so he deploys all bulkheads on the ship, slowing down the boarding party's advance towards the bridge. After some time, Theodore Wheeler disables all safety protocols on the main reactor and runs it at 200% capacity, quickly causing an overload. The escorts detected the massive energy buildup, but at that point, it was too late. The boarding parties can't be saved, and even if the escorts attempted to outrun it, the explosion from the reactor would still destroy all ships. Salvage teams have been sent from Mars and New Berlin to search through the wreckage for usable materials. Unfortunately, the explosion has completely disintegrated most bodies, and any that aren't are completely unidentifiable. Theodore Wheeler's reign of terror has finally come to an end. Martian citizens are tired of loss. First all the lives lost on New Berlin, then the war, and now Theodore Wheeler single-handedly killing almost 500 officers. Protests against the continuation of the war have started, so Congress and the President have agreed on very lenient terms for a peace treaty with the Oned government. August 8th, 2269. The Divine Oned Quark Commonality has accepted a limited peace treaty. This treaty puts no outstanding punishment on the Oned, but it did open the borders between our nations, and establish permanent embassies on Mars and Ivry-Laumon, the Oned's capital. The Martian Navy has had a drastic change in tactics and purpose over the course of the war, but this has come at the cost of over 5,000 Martian lives. October 3rd, 2269. The UMRS Japan has landed on Glaus 4 and started setting up the colony. The colonists have named the colony Ares, which refers to Old Greek mythology and is the Greek equivalent to Mars in Old Roman mythology. The name is picked in honor of all the military personnel that fought on New Berlin and in the Oned War. The colonists have also elected a governor, Ragnar Ragnarsson. January 1st, 2270. President Philip Hall has decided to retire from politics to his home on Mars at the age of 118 after the next president is sworn in. The 2 primary candidates this election are Captain Scarlett Pratt and head of the Science Directorate, Jonathan Brown. The Martian Navy needs you to rename their fleets. Leave your suggestions in the comments below. Thank you, Cornish Ratbeard, for helping me with this video. Check out the Discord that I run with Cornish Ratbeard and Jamie Plays. I sometimes ask Discord members to vote on important matters happening in the next episode, so if you would like to vote, there is a link to the Discord in the description below.
Live long and prosper.